The sound of the slap reverberated through the reception hall like a gunshot. 200 conversations halted mid-sentence. The string quartet's melody fractured into silence. My carefully applied makeup couldn't hide the scarlet handprint blooming across my cheek as I tasted copper where my lip had split against my teeth. "You selfish little brat," my father hissed, his face contorted with rage, champagne fumes thick on his breath. "After everything we've done for you—" I watched the scene as if floating above it, the shocked wedding guests in their finery. My mother's mortified expression focused more on the spectacle than my injury, and most revealing, my brother Noel's satisfied smirk from the head table. His new wife, Grace's eyes gleamed with triumph beside him. "My name is Victoria. I'm 29 and a software developer. This is the story of how I turned public humiliation into perfect freedom." The penthouse they wanted me to surrender was my sanctuary. 1,800 square feet of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, purchased with money I'd earned working 60-hour weeks for 3 years while Noel cycled through failed business ventures. These were funded by our parents' seemingly bottomless generosity. "Your brother needs a proper home to start his family," my mother had insisted minutes earlier, cornering me by the dessert table. "You're just one person, Victoria. Be reasonable." "No," I'd replied, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "The penthouse is mine. I bought it. I pay for it. Noel and Grace can find their own place." That's when my father had stepped in, face flushed from too much champagne and decades of unquestioned authority. "This isn't a request, Victoria. Your brother is the man of the family now." The man of the family, of course. Even after Noel's cryptocurrency startup had imploded spectacularly last month, taking his investors' money with it, he remained the golden child. "The answer is still no," I'd replied, keeping my voice low. "And if you bring this up again, I'm leaving." That's when he slapped me. Now, standing in the shocked silence of the reception hall, I straightened my spine. I looked my father directly in the eye and smiled. Something in that smile made him take a half step back. "You'll regret this," I said, my voice carrying in the silence. "All of you will." I turned and walked out, heels clicking against marble like a metronome counting down to retribution. Behind me, whispers erupted like fire through dry brush. My mother called after me, not concerned about my well-being, but about what the country club members would say. In my car, I finally released the tears, but they weren't born of sadness. A lifetime of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who never asked for handouts. And this was my reward? Public humiliation because I wouldn't surrender my home to my freeloading brother? My phone vibrated with incoming messages. "Mom, come back inside. You're embarrassing us." Noelle, "Don't be dramatic, sis. We can talk about this." Grace, "Your brother deserves that penthouse more than you." Dad, "You will give Noel the keys tomorrow. This isn't a discussion." I switched off my phone and drove. Not home. I couldn't face the penthouse right now. Instead, I headed to the coffee shop where I'd spent countless hours coding and planning my future. My sanctuary before I could afford the penthouse. The barista, Kyle, took one look at my face and brought over my usual order without asking. "Bad day?" "My father slapped me at my brother's wedding because I wouldn't give them my penthouse," I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. Kyle's eyes widened. "Your penthouse? The one you worked 3 years of overtime to buy?" I nodded, sipping my coffee. "Apparently my brother needs it more than I do. He's the man of the family, after all." "That's insane," Kyle said, sliding a chocolate muffin across the table. "On the house, you look like you need it." As twilight painted the sky outside the cafe window, a plan crystallized in my mind. My family thought they could bully me into submission. They thought I'd surrender everything I'd worked for. They had no idea what I was capable of. I opened my laptop and began typing. Emails to my lawyer and financial advisor, code commits to my private GitHub repository, and finally a call to my real estate agent. "Remember that oceanfront property we discussed?" I asked when she answered. "I'm ready to make an offer." By the time I finished my coffee, the foundation of my revenge was laid. My family wanted to take my home. Let them try. But they were about to learn that the quiet, accommodating daughter they took for granted had vanished the moment my father's hand met my cheek. This was war, and I intended to win. The next morning, my parents showed up at my penthouse unannounced. My father stormed past the doorman, who'd already called to warn me they were coming. I met them at my door dressed in my best power suit, laptop in hand. "Where are you going?" my mother demanded as I locked my door. "We need to talk about what happened." "Work," I replied simply, walking past them toward the elevator. "Some of us actually have jobs." "Don't you dare take that tone," my father growled, grabbing my arm. "After your behavior yesterday—" I yanked my arm away, my voice ice cold. "Touch me again, and I'll have security escort you out. And yes, I have video of yesterday's assault. The country club's cameras caught everything." That stopped them both short. My mother's face paled. "You wouldn't." "Try me." The elevator arrived and I stepped in. "Oh, and change the locks all you want. I've already moved everything valuable to secure storage." The doors closed on their shocked faces. I waited until I was in my car before letting out a shaky breath. Phase 1 of my plan was in motion. Over the next week, I ignored their calls and messages, which grew increasingly hostile. Noel sent flying monkeys, mutual friends and relatives trying to reason with me. Grace posted passive-aggressive social media updates about selfish people who don't support family. I stayed silent and kept working. What they didn't know was that I'd been preparing for something like this for years. Not this exact scenario. I never expected my father to actually hit me. But I'd always known they'd try to take what was mine eventually. That's why I had receipts for everything. Every penny I'd earned, every bill I'd paid, every improvement I'd made to the penthouse. I had security cameras in every room, backup codes for every lock, and most importantly, I had leverage. You see, during those years of being the responsible daughter, I'd also been the family tech support. I'd set up everyone's computers, phones, and email accounts. I had access to everything, including Noel's business records. I had created backdoor admin accounts on all their devices years ago, and they'd never thought to change passwords or check for secondary access points. As their IT person, I'd kept copies of all access credentials. This gave me a window into Noel's business dealings even after he thought he'd secured his accounts. On day 10 of radio silence, my mother tried a new approach. She showed up at my office with tears in her eyes. "Your father is sorry," she said, settling uninvited into the chair across from my desk. "He was just upset. You know how he gets when he's worried about Noel." Worried about Noel? I kept typing, not looking up. Or worried about what Noel's investors might do when they find out where their money really went. Her sharp intake of breath told me I'd hit a nerve. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said carefully. "No?" I finally looked at her. "So you don't know about the offshore accounts? The shell companies? The consulting fees Noel paid to Dad's business?" The color drained from her face. "How did you—" "I'm very good at what I do, Mom. Did you really think I wouldn't notice when Noel used my old coding projects in his crypto startup that failed? The code had my digital signature embedded in it. I could trace exactly how he'd repurposed my work." "It wasn't a scam," she protested weakly. "He just made some mistakes." "Fraud isn't a mistake. It's a crime." I turned my laptop around, showing her the documents I'd compiled, and Dad helped him do it. She stared at the screen, her hands trembling. "What do you want?" "I want to be left alone. No more demands, no more flying monkeys, no more social media drama. The penthouse is mine. End of discussion." "And if we refuse?" I smiled, the same smile I'd given them at the wedding. "Then these documents go to the SEC, along with the video of Dad assaulting me. I'm sure the investors would be very interested in where their money went." "You'd destroy your own family?" Her voice cracked. "You did that when you demanded I give up my home, when Dad hit me, when Noel smirked about it." I turned the laptop back around. "I'm done being the family doormat." She left without another word, but I knew this wasn't over. They'd be angry, desperate even. But I had one more card to play. That evening, I received a call from my real estate agent. The oceanfront property, a luxury apartment complex I'd been eyeing for months, was mine. My tech career had been exceptionally lucrative, and I'd been investing carefully for years. I had built a portfolio that had grown substantial enough to secure financing for the property, the same complex where Noel and Grace had been hoping to rent their dream apartment. I logged into my private GitHub repository and pushed the final changes to my latest project, a property management system I'd been developing on the side. The same system Noel had tried to steal for his failed startup. My phone buzzed with a text from Noel. "Mom told me what you're doing. You can't prove anything." I smiled, sending back a single screenshot of his private server logs. His next message came quickly. "What do you want?" "Distance," I replied. "Complete and total. No contact, no demands, no family obligations. The penthouse and my life are off limits. And if I refuse, then I own your dream apartment complex, have proof of your financial misconduct, and enough documentation to bury both you and Dad. Your choice." The typing indicator appeared and disappeared several times before his response came through. "You've changed?" "No," I wrote back. "I just stopped pretending to be who you wanted me to be." I put my phone on silent and walked out onto my penthouse balcony, watching the city lights flicker to life. The sun was setting on the family I'd known, but I felt lighter than I had in years. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about, finally, truly becoming yourself. 3 months after the wedding incident, I sat in my penthouse living room, sipping coffee and reviewing tenant applications for my oceanfront complex. The property was proving to be an excellent investment, especially after I implemented my management system. My phone buzzed with a notification. Noel and Grace had been evicted from their luxury rental after failing to pay rent for 2 months. I had set up automatic alerts for their unit in my property management system, so I received notifications about their payment status. I wasn't surprised. Without Dad's financial support, which had dried up since my revelations about their financial misconduct, they were finally facing reality. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. Through the security camera, I saw my father standing there, looking older than I remembered. For a moment, I considered ignoring him, but curiosity won out. "What do you want?" I asked through the intercom. "5 minutes, Victoria, please." I opened the door but didn't invite him in. He stood there, shifting uncomfortably, his usual confidence nowhere to be seen. "Noel and Grace are moving back home," he said finally. "The apartment. They couldn't afford it." "I know. I own the building." His head snapped up, eyes widening. "You? But how?" "Because I'm good at what I do, Dad. I always was. You just never noticed." He seemed to deflate, leaning against the doorframe. "Your mother misses you. We all do." "No," I corrected him. "You miss having someone to push around, someone to sacrifice everything for Noel. That person doesn't exist anymore." "I was wrong," he said quietly, "about everything. The slap, the demands, protecting Noel. I've lost everything because of it." It was true. After my threats of exposure, he'd been forced to step down from his company's board. I'd learned this through business contacts in my professional network, who forwarded me the press release about his early retirement. His reputation in the business community was in tatters, though I'd never actually released the documents. The threat had been enough. "You haven't lost everything," I said. "You still have your golden child. Isn't that what matters?" "Victoria, please. We're family." "Family?" I laughed. "Family doesn't demand someone give up their home. Family doesn't hit you in public. Family doesn't smirk while watching it happen." He flinched at each point, but I wasn't done. "You know what I realized after the wedding? I've never needed any of you. Every success I've had, every achievement, was in spite of you, not because of you." "I know," he whispered. "I know that now." I studied him. This man who'd loomed so large in my life, who'd seemed so powerful and intimidating. Now he just looked small. "5 minutes are up," I said, starting to close the door. "Wait, He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "Your mother wanted you to have this. It's an invitation to her birthday dinner next week. We would really like you to come." I took the envelope but didn't open it. "I'll think about it." After he left, I sat on my balcony, turning the invitation over in my hands. Part of me wanted to throw it away to maintain the distance I'd worked so hard to establish, but another part, a stronger part, knew that true victory wasn't in perpetual estrangement. It was in having the power to choose my own terms. The following week, I did attend my mother's birthday dinner. I arrived late and left early, speaking little but observing much. Noel and Grace sat in sullen silence, their designer clothes replaced by department store brands. My father stayed sober, watching his words carefully. My mother tried too hard, her smile brittle with anxiety. They were all walking on eggshells, afraid of the power I now held. But I had no interest in wielding it like a weapon. Instead, I used it as a shield, protecting the life I'd built for myself. Over the following months, a new family dynamic emerged. They learned to respect my boundaries, to accept that I wouldn't be their safety net anymore. Noel and Grace found modest jobs and a small apartment they could actually afford. My father stayed involved but distant, sending occasional emails about business opportunities he thought might interest me. My mother took longer to adjust, still trying to play peacemaker, still hoping for the daughter she'd always wanted me to be. But eventually, she too learned to accept the woman I actually was. One year after the wedding, I hosted a small dinner party in my penthouse, not for family, but for the people who truly supported me. Kyle from the coffee shop, who'd given me space to plan my revenge over countless cups of coffee. He had since become my boyfriend after months of growing closer through regular coffee dates. My real estate agent, who'd helped me secure my newest investment. My lawyer, who'd protected my interests without question. As we enjoyed dinner on my balcony, watching the sunset paint the city gold, Kyle raised his glass. "To Victoria," he said, "who turned a slap into an empire." I smiled, thinking about how that moment of public humiliation had led to this, not just financial success, but true independence, the ability to set boundaries, to demand respect, to live life on my own terms. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better, stronger, wiser. And sometimes it's about learning that the family you choose can be more valuable than the family you're born into. I raised my glass to join the toast, finally at peace with all of it. The slap, the demands, the aftermath. They had tried to take my home, but instead, they'd given me my freedom. And that was worth more than any penthouse. My relationship with my family would never return to what it was before. We maintained a distant formal connection with clear boundaries that they now respected. I'd forgiven them enough to allow limited contact, but would never again allow them the power to hurt me. That chapter was permanently closed.